The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to Versatility in Action. This is a panel discussion with MGI Meteor users. My name is Jim Hamilton, and I'll be the moderator for this webinar, which is being presented courtesy of MGI, the maker of the MGI Meteor series of production color printers. So our agenda today looks like this. I'll start with a brief review of market trends as well as an overview of the MGI Meteor and other MGI products. And I am delighted today to have on our panel 3 MGI Meteor users. So we have Glenn Cash from 48hourprint.com, Rich Poppet from Flash Reproductions, and Danelle Sador from Grand Rapids Community College. Now in a few minutes you'll be hearing more from each of them about their facilities and how they're using their Meteors. But first off, we'll start with some trends. Now, I do want to mention that we'll close the session with audience-submitted questions. So if you have a question for me or any of the panelists, please type it into the question window and submit it. We'll get to as many questions as time allows. Our session today will run for no more than an hour. My trends overview and the panel discussion should take between 40 and 45 minutes, and we'll save the rest of the time for your questions. So just a little quick background on me. I'm Jim Hamilton. I'm a group director at InfoTrends. I follow the production digital print market very closely. And what follows here is a look at some of the trends in the marketplace and what we see in the Meteor product line. So first off, this is a condensed view into one page of some of the major trends that I see impacting the print market in general. So to start with, long run. Static offset volume is transferring to short-run targeted digital, clearly. In transaction types of environments, offset printed color shells are being replaced by a white paper in, full color document out workflow. That's being driven by production color devices, and it's happening in transaction and direct mail. Now, some content, of course, is moving to electronic delivery entirely, and that has an impact on our marketplace. Again, in transactional and promotional components of documents are being pulled together into something that we call transpromo. In promotional sorts of applications, we're seeing onserts replacing inserts. So taking that promotional information and putting it right on the document. Also, there's a huge move towards color. It communicates better. It allows you to be more concise with documents, to produce much more effective information in fewer pages. So that's a huge trend. And then certainly, we're seeing much more personalization, replacing what I would call carpet bombing or spray and pray methods in direct mail. In markets like books and marketing materials, on-demand, no-inventory production is becoming the mainstream. If you were to think back 5 years or so, people think that's a little bit crazy, it's wacky, it's out there. It is mainstream now. And certainly, many publishers are looking at that. And in university environments, for university publishers, it's becoming the norm. And of course, print is becoming much more interactive. Personalized URLs or PURLs are in significant use. We see dashboard campaign management tools that allow marketing managers to really get an overall view of the impact of their campaigns that may be multi-channel campaigns, ones that use print as well as direct mail, as well as phone, as well as web and email and mobile and all of the other kinds of things that might come into play. QR codes are linking printed pieces to personalized documents and to end users. And other things like augmented reality, true print on demand, and security-enabled features that you see through digital print are also helping print become much more interactive. Now, at InfoTrends, we do a lot of research. One of the things that we did in cooperation with the North American Publishing Company was an emerging strategy survey where we looked at the question around run lengths. So we asked for the following run lengths in terms of sets of documents. Do you see an increase or a decrease in the frequency of printing jobs? Now, the responses are broken out here from less than 250 at the low end all the way up to 50,000 or so at the high end. And what is clear in looking at this is that longer runs are decreasing. And clearly, smaller runs are increasing, and the overall directional movement is towards shorter run lengths. And certainly, digital printing is very well suited to deliver this kind of capability. Now, if you look at the overall printing industry in terms of its employment, the picture over the last decade or so is really, really quite sobering. You look at the number of printing industry jobs that have been eliminated over the past year, it's about 40%. Those gray bars there indicate where there were recessions. And so you can see that the drops in those areas were particularly strong. And now, certainly this is impacting the overall industry, but to a large extent, what this trend means is that there are fewer people left to produce the remaining work, which in the U.S. still represents a market of around $86 billion annually. And clearly there have been significant productivity gains through improvements in digital printing, software, workflow, printing information management systems, and certainly other kinds of automated tools. And what that has led to is that on a per employee basis, there's been a startling increase in the amount of printing industry value per employee. So at the same time that we're seeing this drive towards automation, we're seeing more productivity coming out of each employee. Now, to conclude this trend section, certainly the printing industry is in a fundamental state of transition. We see consumers changing their behaviors in a lot of different ways. They're driving for information immediately, accessible wherever they are. Mobile devices are changing that. That drives a greater need, certainly, for interactive kinds of print. Companies also want to communicate much more directly and more effectively with their end users. And this can be in marketing environments. It can be in university, corporate, enterprise types of environments. And that drives a greater need for personalized print. And print buyers, too, they want to get the best that they can out of their supply chains, and a lot of times that drives a greater need for on-demand print. So you're not printing large quantities and warehousing them. You're printing those documents as you need them in the quantities that fill the channel as you need them. So that interactive, personalized, on-demand processes, they're all very well suited to digital print. Now, you look at this and you may say, all right, so how does MGI fit into this changing marketplace? And the key takeaway from my perspective is that they've done some amazing things around digital printing and finishing. What's up here on the screen here is the Meteor DP8700XL, which is the latest in their line of Meteor products that are really differentiated by some key strengths. And let me show them here. So the ability to hand a very broad application set. And when I use the term application, I'm talking about things like books, labels, marketing documents, postcards, and the ability of the device to handle a wide range of substrates, paper and plastic, really supports that broad application set. High-resolution image output, you'll see when we talk about the specs what I mean specifically by that, and many of you who are users out there know the quality levels that the device is capable of. I mentioned before the flexibility to print not only on paper and plastic, but also on envelopes. That's a key piece. Not many devices have the ability to run longer sheets. So much of the digital print world is sort of a 12 by 18 marketplace. The ability to go longer than that, and I'll show you the specs in a moment, is really key. Certainly, because of the company's heritage, because of MGI's heritage in feeding and finishing, they drive a lot of that capability into the device. Certainly, we'll see a little bit more about that later on in this list. Broad substrate range. The laser-safe technology, I mentioned that specifically because if you're doing envelopes or if you're doing stationary types of applications, certainly those are going to go back into a laser device in many cases, and they have to be laser safe for those. And not all electrophotographic products are. So that's a key advantage on the MGI side with the Meteor products. Envelopes, being able to put those through an envelope feeder that is robust and productive is important, and a couple of different options that MGI offers. And I think, and we may get into this in the question and answer, is when you look at the service strategy that MGI has set up, not involving click charges, again, that's appealing to a lot of folks as well. Now, here's a table that shows the MGI Meteor product line. So that includes the DP40 Pro, the DP60 Pro, and the DP8700XL. Now, the DP8700XL was announced in June of 2011, so it just came into the market last year. And I should note that the people on our panel today, they all own MGI's Meteor DP60. And each of them has had the DP60 for at least 6 months, and some for nearly 2 years. So it was our intent with this panel to bring together a group of folks who are very familiar with this device. And there aren't as many today who have the DP8700XL, because it's really been very recently introduced. But maybe someday in the future we'll have a webinar with some of them. So looking over the specifications here, you see the DP40 Pro. So if you want to get into the Meteor product line, this is the entry-level system for that. But again, it's a very robust system, so entry-level may be a little bit of a term where you look at the capabilities here. It gets you into the Meteor family. And that's a 35 page per minute product. You can see the maximum substrate, a little bit more than 12 by 18, supported papers up to 300 GSM, monthly duty cycle of 200,000. When you go to the next level, DP60 Pro, what you're getting is an increase in speed, an increase in resolution. The format size is larger. You've got that ability to go to these very, very long sheets, so up to 40 and even to 47 inches if you're talking about a manual feed there. And that's, again, that is very nice for longer types of graphics, point of purchase, those sorts of applications. And certainly to be able to go to 350 GSM, grams per square meter, that's a key advantage. And other capabilities like the high-capacity stacker. And if you're with the DP60, you're talking about a duty cycle that's around 600,000. With the DP8700, you've got all of those capabilities from the DP60, plus you're adding higher speed, so 71 pages per minute compared to 65, an increased resolution, and certainly that format is basically a standard feature of that device. So that's a key component as you look at the product line. And I will not go at any greater depth in this because I want to get to our panel shortly. But InfoTrends did write a white paper. And so for those of you looking for additional details on the Meteor product family, I recommend you have a look at this white paper. It will be sent to each participant of this webinar, and it's also available as a free download on the InfoTrends website. So I would be remiss if I didn't point out some of the other products in MGI's portfolio. This table, which does come from the white paper, which I just mentioned, provides a very brief overview. So we've discussed the Meteor family, and I've made a mention of the Envelope Express envelope feeders. In finishing, you can see there's a strong heritage here. The DF360 is a multifunction finisher for creasing, laminating, perforating, slitting, and cutting. So very capable capabilities. And then you've got the Press Card Pro and the Punch Card Pro. So in the case of Press Card Pro, industrial lamination, and you can see that in the table there. Punch Card Pro, we're talking about semi-automatic die cutting at speeds of up to 8,500 CR80 format cards per hour. So some interesting things going on there. And I think when you look at many of the vendors in the digital printing space, they don't combine this ability not only to do color printing, but also to add some of the feeding and finishing capabilities. And JetCard, a color inkjet printing product for card printing, shows how MGI is taking inkjet technology into new places. This printing of plastic cards. MGI is doing more and more around inkjet. In fact, the Jet Varnish card is another example of how they're using inkjet technology, and in this case, to apply spot UV coating for special effects. And then the last product on the table is the U-Varnish for UV coating for full coat applications. So I'm going to shift gears right now here. We'll move over to the panel discussion. I know you've all been waiting for this. And what I'd like to do is to start with Glenn Cash, who's Vice President of Manufacturing at 48 Hour Print. Glenn, what I'd like to ask you to do is just take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about 48hourprint.com. Glenn?
Okay. 48hourprint.com has been around for quite a while for an online printing company. We started back around 2000, based out of Boston, Massachusetts. We have a software engineering group which is housed out of Manchester, New Hampshire, and print facilities in outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and Phoenix, Arizona. We, as I said, are an online printer and have seen quite a change in the industry as more and more people come online. So we now, at least I call ourselves an online commercial printer. kind of contrary to a little bit to what you said there, Jim, we are seeing kind of an odd thing in our business for us, is we're seeing longer runs and shorter runs at the same time. So as we look to move into the digital a few years back, you know, that's what created our need, was the shorter runs amongst you know, a lot of substrates. So we do have two DP60s, one in each of our facilities. They run every single day, and we keep them very, very busy at this point in time.
You know, Glenn, just a quick question then. So you have both offset and digital technologies?
We do. We have offset, digital, full finishing in both of our facilities.
All right, great. Well, that's a good overview. Let me switch now, and we'll give Rich a chance to introduce himself. So just Rich is the president of Flash Reproductions there in Toronto. Rich, you want to tell us a little bit about Flash?
Yeah, Flash Reproductions, we're a mid-sized printer, I guess, in this market. We're about 40 people strong. We've actually been in business for 42 years. We're kind of a boutique printer in that we do a little bit of everything. We're a relatively short-run printer, but we run offset, screen printing, letterpress, foil stamping, die cutting, embossing, whatever the case may be. So we're a full-service shop, and just recently, middle of last year, we added digital production press, which was the DP60.
Very good. All right. So now to our last panelist, Danelle Sador. You're the Director of Printing, Graphic, and Mailing Solutions at Grand Rapids Community College in Michigan. Tell us a little bit about your operation.
Okay, thank you. I think the college has had a printing department for about 30 years. And over the years, it's expanded to house 4 full-time designers, a full production staff in the back with bindery and mailing capabilities. And what we had to decide a couple years ago was our 3 offset presses were becoming more idle as the digital area seemed to take off due to, you know, people wanting nice color, wanting it tomorrow, and we have, as you can see, a Pantone blue that just seems to take forever to dry on offset. So in looking for something to meet those needs, we needed something that we could print letterhead, because we do sell letterhead to the departments so they can run their own memos. What was nice about this was it offered opportunities to expand, so we can now offer magnetic type things and some other substrates that we were approached on by a company here in town. So as you can see, all the photos, we do the in-house. We also have GRPS, which is the public schools, as one of our customers, and of course anybody else who hears about us and wants to use our facilities.
Great. Now, you were talking a little bit about how you're using the device. So certainly, you know, from an application perspective, stationary. Did you mention envelopes then as well, or is it more 8.5 by 11 stationary?
Well, it is our full stationary line, envelopes as well as letterhead. But our biggest thing was the fact that we don't print everything in our department, so we had to have something that was laser safe, and this offered that. Mm-hmm. And just by having the machine, and we had an open house, and we were approached by, like I said, a company in town that does different substrates, we're now able to offer other options, and so it's opened up some other avenues for us.
Now, you mentioned printing on a substrate, basically, I guess, a magnet type of substrate. What about other unusual substrates, or is that the most unusual you use?
No, actually, you know, in thinking about it, nowadays, like your refrigerators are more stainless steel. There's a lot less places to put a magnet. Even though that was a thing, it didn't dawn on us until somebody approached us that, where are you going to put the magnet? And in an office area, where are you going to put your magnet? So in communicating pieces and having them visual, we now print on what they call a repositionable fabric, which is adhered to like a cardboard type, where you could print on the back and you can use it as a mailer. Do that. And we also print on a polyplastic.
Interesting. And the application for that is again, promotional types of pieces?
Yeah.
Yep.
We do have some ideas to approach the public schools. They do a calendar, a small calendar and a large calendar, and we thought it would be nice to offer up to them one calendar that somebody could put inside their cupboard or even on their fridge if they would like, that would have all the school days, teacher conferences and sporting events. That reduces their multiple printing down to one.
Yep, that sounds great. Well, that's a great overview of the applications you're doing. Glenn, maybe I could step back to you for a moment and get you to talk about the applications that you're printing and maybe how you decide which ones go on the Meteor and which ones you use on your other devices.
Well, in our case, being an online printer, we have a menu on our website. So there's 40 some odd products on our website with multiples of variations. When we went to consider digital, we decided that we would offer as many of those products in lower quantities. We were, I believe, at 500 was our lowest quantity for most of our products, so we wanted to take it lower. So what we did was get to the point where we reproduce everything that we sell, which is business cards and letterheads and envelopes and bumper stickers, and we were doing those in smaller quantities. So in our case, it is driven to digital by the quantity level.
Now, you'd mentioned something interesting there, that you sort of see quantities going in two different directions. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Well, in our company, on the online printers, we normally, when I first came on with this company 5 or 6 years ago, we wouldn't see very many large runs. And again, when I say large runs, in the 5 to 10 to 15, 20,000 range. We've seen those increase, and we've also seen, again, a good need for the 100s and the 200 range. So it's been interesting in the online market to see more people ordering larger quantities. It's not unusual for us to see 40 or 50,000 piece runs here.
And what then determines which device you put it on? I mean, where do you have a run length, or is it availability of what's happening on the floor? I mean, some of it must be application, but how do you make that decision?
Two things. It's by quantity. Anything under 500 will go digital.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do have some substrates that we run strictly on the digital press. And we're doing some vinyls, some plastics. All of our paper line goes there. So, and some specialty products that we're looking at this point in time.
Interesting. Now, Rich, how about for you from the application perspective? I'm hearing about a pretty broad range of applications and some interesting substrates. What are you using your Meteor to, what types of applications?
We do all the traditional brochures and marketing materials, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, that sort of thing, on the paper side of things. But our business is about 50% synthetic substrates and about it's about 50-50. And that's on the offset side as well, and it's translated that way to the Meteor as well. So we on the Meteor, just as we do on the offset presses, we run styrene, polyethylene, Lexan, whatever we need, cling vinyls, just whatever we can run on the offset presses. We've pretty much been able to get it to adhere on the Meteor, which has been great for us because, like I said, we do a lot of those for backlit signage and point of purchase display pieces and that sort of thing. So yeah, all the standard pieces, but also a lot of the synthetics for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting from an application perspective. The next question I'd like to throw out, we've sort of gone through the application piece, is to look at how your organization has changed over the past 5 years. And actually, Danelle, why don't you start with this one, because you mentioned that part of the push here was customer demand for quicker turnaround, and that had impact on your offset presses. So how has customer demand and the requirements of the users you serve changed over the past 5 years?
I think it's not only the customer demand, but technology itself, because once people are exposed to and grasp what's out there, they seem to want it. But yeah, we had a lot of difficulty with work that we were doing, and like I said, 295 blue is horrible to try to get it to dry even with a lot of powder. And 4-color, we only had 2-color presses, and we were trying to run 4-color through a Shinohara 2-color perfector, and if you miss it on the first 2, you're throwing that paper out and doing it again. We have good press people here, but you know how it is. I mean, if you don't hit it on the first 2. So the thought was, we're not getting offset printing. We're getting more demand for, I want it tomorrow, it needs to be folded, inserted, variable data, in the mail. So we decided to sell the offset, and on doing so, what do we do to replace that? And like I had said, the laser safe was one of the big things. Size as well. There were some things we were sending out due to the small limits we had on sizes of our smaller presses. So some of the fold-up, tucked-in folders that we're creating for some of our departments we can now do here. And we have a creaser that we can make some nice folding on that. So that's what kind of led us into, you know, the variable data aspect, the customers wanting color, want it tomorrow, things like that.
Yep, no, that's interesting. That I hear that kind of evolution, particularly in in-plant environments, from offset to digital, and yet there are some applications that people come back and say, well, I'd love to be able to do a pocket folder, but you know, with 12 by 18 it's kind of hard to do that, or I'd love to have some flexibility to do some things, and very nicely it sounds like that the Meteor is fitting in and allowing you to do some of those things. You know,
yeah, it's opening opportunities and options as we're exploring, because we're still exploring, you know, how to market some of this stuff, because we know people want it. We just have to expose them to how they can get it from us.
Right, right. Now Glenn, now tell me, how long has 48hourprint.com been around, and what evolution have you seen? Because it sounds to me, and maybe I have this wrong, but you've been an online printer throughout the existence, but we're just doing longer runs and then added digital. Help me with that description.
That's correct. 48-hour print has always been an online printer. You know, we didn't start out as a commercial printer in town and then expand to it. So it was started as an online printing company. Over the years, since around 2000 or so, we've expanded our product line to from just the normal business cards and postcards into pocket folders and booklets, and as we started to stretch our line of products, at some point in time you kind of run out of things to add, and we started to look around to see what else we could do. And I'm sure, as our local Cleveland dealer will attest to, when we were looking for a digital press, we tested everything under the sun on their demo press, and so we tested the plastics and the envelopes and everything that we could get our hands on. So we were able to expand our line, and are continuing to do so by adding substrates, which everybody else on the panel has spoken to, and that's exactly what we're doing as well.
All right. You know, I just getting some questions coming in from the audience. We will deal with those as we go through the presentation. I want to ask you guys a couple more questions. Actually, Rich, I wanted to ask you if there's anything that you'd like to say sort of about the historical evolution over the past 5 or 10 years of Flash.
Well, I mean, we you know, like I said, we've been around. I grew up in print, and seeing digital come in to the market, you know, a decade ago, as far as, you know, any kind of serious production machines, we were always kind of snobby about it. Like I said, we're a designer's printer. We kind of pride ourselves on being a high quality printer. So we were always looking at digital print as being, you know, as being subpar. So we stayed out of it, and that was kind of our opinion of it. And when we saw what some of the presses can do today, and not just the Meteor, but all their direct competitors, we started to think, you know what, it's not garbage anymore, and we really need to start paying attention to this. And our clients were recognizing the same thing, that they used to not do digital because for the same reason. They said it's not worth our time. But they got to a point where they were seeing better and better digital images, so they were coming to us asking us to put in digital because they were being forced to use other printers because we didn't have the equipment for them. So we did some pretty extensive research. We kind of flew all over North America looking at the Xerox and the Kodak and the HP offerings, and in as much as we really didn't like the click charge model because it was something that we had never had to deal with before, so that was a good thing. But to not have with the DP60, but we found that all the capabilities of the Meteor far outstripped the competition, aside from pure speed, which you could get from something like an iGen. But I mean, that if you're going to sacrifice quality, then from our point of view at least, I don't see why you need to do something subpar really quickly.
Yep.
So that's what pushed us towards it, basically. And like I said, the click charge thing was a fundamental reason for us to choose what we did.
Yep. I'm going to start interspersing some of the questions that we're getting coming in from the audience. And one of the questions is, what size offset presses do you have? And Danelle, I'm not sure you said that you had them anymore, but what were the size of the Shinoharas you had?
You're correct. We did get rid of our presses. The Shinohara two-color Perfector was a 1420 sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we had a couple Ryobis that were 1117.
Yeah, okay. So smaller format on that side.
Yep.
Glenn, how about you?
Our offset presses are 28 by 40 inch.
Okay, so you're 28 by 40. And Rich?
We kind of run the gamut. We have all Heidelberg in the offset side of things, and we have a 6-color 40, 6-color 29 inch, a 4-color 20 inch, and a 2-color 18 inch.
Wow, very extensive. And you mentioned, I think, die cutting and embossing. You've got a lot of interesting capabilities there.
Yeah, we have 6 die cutters, and 4 of them can emboss as well. 2 of them can foil stamp, and yeah, we have laser cutters as well. So.
All righty. I've got one question here. This I see as kind of an interesting one. I'm going to go back an image or two so that we can get the question there. Okay. So Glenn, this is actually for you. Somebody's looking at the water bottle in that picture and thinking that the device needs water, which it doesn't. But I guess my question for you is, what is that doing there?
Well, we run some humidifiers in our digital room.
Ah, okay.
So I'm sure that was there, either that or a very thirsty operator.
All right.
But no, I'm quite sure that was for humidity in the Cleveland facility.
All right, that makes sense. And because, of course, these are electrophotographic devices. They're toner-based. There's no, there's no ink-water balance. But again, which is one of the nice aspects of digital print, is you don't have those ongoing adjustments related to the, the plate, ink, water balance that you have with offset. Now, here's a question then specifically for Rich. Why does Flash run such a large amount of synthetics? And they're wondering if it has something to do with profit margins.
Yeah, it has everything to do with profit margins.
Yeah.
My father, who started this company in the early '90s, was inspired at Drupa with some testing that he saw on some synthetic substrates, and when he came back, he worked with some ink manufacturers and actually worked with Heidelberg to modify our presses to run plastics. And before then, like '80s and before, plastics were mainly run on mainly screen printed, and that's what we did with our plastics. But to be able to run them offset, obviously there's a lot of benefits as far as just the speeds we can run at and that sort of thing. But and what's happened for us over the years and why we've been able to stay in plastics and stay competitive is because we figured out early on how to run plastics on our conventional presses without having to run UV, and all of our competitors, without spending the 10 years figuring out how to run and doing all the R&D that we did, they're just buying UV presses, and so everybody we're competing against on the synthetic side is running UV presses. So that keeps us busy because they can't really beat us on price. So yeah, it is all about margins. There's just not a lot of people who can do it, and so we end up doing a lot of it. And some of it runs on the Meteor. I mean, we've been able to transition some of our backlit signage work. We do the Subway Transit Commission here in Toronto. We do all of their backlit signs, and we have for years. But every once in a while, they'll only need 20 of them for a specific car or something like that. And we've always been astronomical in price for that. But we've been able to run those backlits on the Meteor and give them what they want. And that's a combination of it being able to run the synthetics, like the backlit styrene, but also they're 13 by 33 inches long, or 11 by 33 inches long. So it's a perfect fit for this press. The only other way they were able to do it before is on digital flatbeds or screen printed, and the startup and the speed of those things, they're significantly slower. So we've been doing a lot of those. Even taxi toppers, as I see you put up there. Yeah, we've been doing taxi toppers as well. It's same sort of thing, same long and skinny format. So yeah, it's like the Meteor was designed for those. So
now, in the case of the taxi toppers, what is the substrate?
That is styrene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's backlit styrene. So.
Well, here's a question that comes in about variable data capabilities. So what are you using, and then what programs would you be using for variable data? So actually, Danelle, do you want to start with that? Are you doing much variable data, and if so, what program are you using to make that happen?
Okay, so don't quote me on this because I can't remember, but I think it's called Print Shop Mail with
Atlas Print Shop Mail. Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
And we do several variable data. A lot of the internal is we have a training solutions department that offers to existing companies with workforce or displaced workers. They have seminars, work sessions, so we do a lot of postcard marketing for that, specific to certain customers, students, which is grades and transfers and all that information. We have external customers that utilize that service to do some kind of target marketing, whether it be a postcard or some kind of marketing product that we create for them.
Excellent. Well, that sounds good. Glenn, how about you? Same question.
In our case, we are doing VDP. We haven't actually opened it up as a product on our website as of yet, but we are doing several campaigns a month for some customers. We use XMPie for our front end work on that.
Okay. And Rich?
We for the most part use InDesign actually. The newest versions of InDesign have variable data capabilities, so that's a program that we're familiar with that we use every day, all day. So yeah, so we make it work through there for the most part.
Okay. Now, Rich, you may have answered this question already, but the question comes to the panel: how did you choose the Meteor over other options like the Indigo or the Nexpress or an iGen?
We did a lot of research, that's for sure. I could address each and every one of them individually, and anyone's welcome to if you want to give my information, anyone's welcome to contact me, email or phone if they want to, my opinion of any one machine. But for the most part, the Meteor, none of those machines can do envelopes. And we are looking at it as kind of a replacement for our 52, which is a 20-inch press, which we still run parallel, but it, for the most part, does PMSs right now. But to not be able to do envelopes seems like, for a press of that format, seems like a real disadvantage. So we really wanted the envelope to be able to run the substrates. Obviously, all of the HPs, for example, everything has to be certified. And whenever we brought substrates to any of those other presses, when we went for demos, we brought the exact same substrates that we brought to the MGI. Every single one of them ran through the MGI without problem, with a few adjustments here and there. And about 50% of them ran through the next press, and HP was maybe 20%. And in every case, both HP and the Xerox was about the same as the HP, 20 or 30%. But in every case, they had, but we have this other substrate that would be the same as that is certified that you could use. And that was kind of a general problem that we had with all three of those other suppliers, was that they were, working towards, how we can buy substrates specifically for this press. And the reality is, as an offset shop, and when we're dealing with short runs that are going on the Meteor, we have tons and tons of short lifts of stock that are left over from offset jobs, that we wanted to be able to cut down those sheets and run them through the Meteor, because they're here. It's free stock, essentially. And so we didn't want to have to buy specific sheets just for this press. And since this press was able to run pretty much anything on the paper side as well, it doesn't have to be a digital version of that sheet. I'd hate to order, Cougar Digital when I have a stack of the regular offset Cougar sitting right beside me. And it's not even just about having the stock there, but it leans towards the click charge model as well. Whenever I asked any one of those manufacturers what the smallest sheet size was, they said, "Oh, I can't quite remember what it is." And actually, all three of them said that, because they said it doesn't really matter though, because you'll be running the biggest sheet size and you'll put multi-up, because a click's a click, and that doesn't work for us when I'm grabbing offcuts off the floor. And if I have a business card that I want to run on, and I happen to have it, an 8x10 sheet, I'll run an 8x10 sheet through there. If I have a 4x6 sheet there, I'll run a postcard 1-up. And because I'm only paying for the toner that actually hits the sheet, I don't care how many clicks it actually uses. So that was a big thing for us. The click charge, fundamentally, we were kind of insulted by the click charge on a level, because we're not allowed to master our own equipment and service our own equipment and maintain our own equipment. It's it's just a phone call and let them do it, which is a good model for kind of an in-house shop at a business tower. But we're printers, and we know how to work our equipment. We want to learn how to master our equipment. We want to be in a position where, as we get better and better at every piece of equipment we have here, then we are better than the next guy who buys that piece of equipment. And we weren't allowed to get to that point with the other manufacturers.
Fascinating. Hey, Danelle, in terms of your decision process there, is there anything you want to add to what Rich has been saying? And maybe I should add this too. We've gotten another question where people say, well, what other digital do you have in-house as well? So, Danelle, maybe a little bit about your decision process, and if there's any other digital that you have in-house.
Yeah. There were two things that helped us decide. One was cost. We are on very tight budget here, so definitely the DP60 was within our budget range. The other thing was, I don't know if people are familiar with the other pieces of equipment, the exhaust system, what you have to have in the for that environment. And I don't know if you've noticed in the pictures, but there is no exhaust pipes and so forth coming out of these machines. That would have cost us another $150,000 if we were to have put one of those machines in and had to redo the exhaust system. So that was a big decision. And like I said before, laser safe, but in our cost range. And we do have we are all digital now, so we have black and white, high-end digital. We do have another color digital, which is a Konica Minolta C6500, which we're looking hopefully to replace that in July as a backup, a second unit. Just the C6500, we just couldn't always keep quality consistency with that. And of course, since it is on a click rate and it is an older machine, they can raise that price every year, which they have.
So, Glenn, how about you with the question then? Decision-making process, another digital that you have?
We do not have any other digital other than white format. As far as the decision-making process, it mirrors exactly what Rich said. We went all over the place, looked at everybody's equipment, tested it, and we have a very active marketing department who loves, to expand on products. And I needed something that would just do everything that we already had in place, plus anything new that came along. And we did extensive testing here in Cleveland at Gravco, and couldn't find anything to break the machine, so it was a big decision maker. Being in this business for a long time, one of the things that absolutely offended me was click charges, and not basically being able to control our own destiny. Again, what Rich said is we wanted to be able to break it down and see what was going on with our costs, and that's proved very good for us.
Good, excellent. We've got a question about service. So, and it's combined really with average monthly print volume. So maybe if each of the panelists could say, what's the average monthly print volume do you have on your DT60, and how many service calls do you have on average? And again, that would be per month. So, Rich, why don't you take that one first?
We don't have high volumes. We are usually just kind of fussing with smaller jobs, so it's not a matter of long runs. It's usually takes us about 3 times as long to get the job to a point where we're ready to print than it does to actually print it. So it kind of gets we kind of get bogged down with all of that. But the point is, we probably do maybe 100, somewhere between 100 and 200,000 a month, sort of thing. We had a little more service calls in the beginning. Simply, it was more training than anything else. We had, basically what we've discovered is it's really waning how often we need someone to come in, because every time they come in with something that's wrong, they teach us how to fix it, and next time it happens, it's not a service call, it's just a maintenance issue, or it's something that needs to be dealt with that our operator can deal with. So, and again, I mean, he's a skilled guy. He's an offset guy. He was one of our feeders actually, and he moved up to operating a feeder on our 40-inch actually. He moved up to operating this press, and he loves it. He owns this thing. He knows it inside and out. And I've told our service guy that give us a year, and we've only been 6 months into it, but give us a year, and our guy will be better than any of your service guys. And I know that's the case because he's on there every day, yeah, so it's been quite good. I mean, mechanically, no issues really whatsoever. There's just been a few things where we literally just didn't know what to do, and now we do.
Yeah. All right. Danelle, how about you in terms of volume and service calls?
I think I have to ditto Rich. Same on everything as far as how much we run, and service calls is basically getting it set up in the beginning. And they do work very well with, we have an excellent service guy who's very knowledgeable, who teaches something every time he comes. So the goal is for them to only service us with supplies and minimal service, and that's what we're working towards. And
so, Glenn, you have 2 of the devices, and I know so the service perspective may be interesting from from that, the fact that you have two different sites that are working with it, what is your perspective on the volume on those devices and the amount of service?
Well, our volume, and I kind of wish I could have gotten into my spreadsheets, but I think we're probably pushing around 250,000 a month. And again, echoing what Rich said, in the beginning there was more service, more calls that probably were related more to training. But in our case, it's been a little different because we purchased our machines through the Cleveland dealer, and they basically created a dealer out in Phoenix because they didn't necessarily have one. So they were training somebody in the process. So I will say across the board in both of them, it's been excellent. And same thing, every time they come in, we learn it. Our operators now know how to fix most of the things that go on here. We do have some service calls because we push the edge on something. We're trying to figure out if it'll do it or what the machine's telling us or what it will allow us to do. We're spending an awful lot of time trying to apply profiles and making sure they match our offset presses, and some of those things may have not been done with our kind of equipment before. So
yep.
It's been very, very good.
Excellent. Now, I see we're probably about 5 minutes towards the end of the webinar, and we will end right at the hour. But I've got a number of different questions coming in, so I'm going to try and work through them. Actually, there's one here that's a statement, and I think it's interesting, so let me read this. So this person says, we're a publisher of fine art posters with a 20 by 29-inch offset press in-house. We added the DC60 in June and now do initial print runs on the DC60 of 100 quantity. Then if it does well in sales, we'll move it over to our offset to do larger runs to meet demand. This has helped increase sales by allowing us to test more images in the market and reduce inventory. So they do sizes of 6 by 6 to 12 by 36 on the DP60. So again, interesting commentary coming in from the audience, so thank you very much for that. Rich, a question specifically around flash. On the taxi toppers, what's the lifespan of the product? And is it life safe, or how long do they last outside?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the good thing about those campaigns is that they don't really last very long. We haven't had a problem with either the subway backlights because they're only exposed to synthetic light, but the ones that are out in the sun, again, same sort of thing. They're not on there very long, so it's usually a month is as long as the campaign goes. We have done some window clings that have faded after 2 or 3 months. So we're kind of saying to our clients, if you're looking for more than two months, we're going to have to go offset. But I mean, that's kind of what the digital thing is all about. It's all about fast and about small campaigns and about places where that's not as big of an issue. But it is certainly not as light fast as our offsettings.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned a window cling. I was thinking that would be related to your wide format, or is that an application you run on the Meteor?
No, we definitely run window clings on the Meteor, yeah. And we do that on the offset side on a mass scale. But yeah, we do a lot of freezer clings, that sort of thing for popsicles and that sort of thing. But also front doors, hours and hours of operation and that sort of thing.
Yep. All right. There's a question here about what your experience has been working with MGI dealers. Each of you, I think, has got a different one you work with because you're in different parts of the world. Actually, Glenn, you've got two to work with. Maybe starting with Glenn, would you like to say a little bit about what it's like working with the MGI dealers?
Well, I think it's a more personal experience than maybe dealing with some of the larger companies. With both of our dealers, we certainly do other business with them, so this is just tied in, and it's been a good experience. Again, in our Arizona facility, it was more of a learning experience for them, but I see no drawbacks for it. I see some advantages because we know the repairmen and we know the people and know how to get a hold of them. So it's been a fine experience.
Excellent. Rich, your thoughts?
Yeah, same thing for me. We do know them only because they've been constantly trying to sell us KVAs for years, and over the Heidelbergs. But that's something too, is that we knew when we bought this press that that they were going to bend over backwards to service us, because it's not the only thing. It's not the only piece of business. It's not, once they drop this machine on our floor, that's all they're going to sell us for the next 5 years. They want to sell us peripherals, and they ideally want us to switch over our offset presses from Heidelberg to KVA, which is a massive would be a massive thing for them. So yeah, they're bending over backwards to make sure that they don't sully the relationship, and I think there's something to be said for that. So yeah, we've had a great experience.
Danelle, how about you?
Well, actually, our experience was the same dealer that Glenn uses down in Ohio, simply because there wasn't a Michigan rep at the time. And we've had very good experience with them. They've got a very good, knowledgeable service person. Probably within the next, well, our fiscal year is July, so we'll have to, now that there's another vendor in Michigan, we will probably switch to them simply due to, because we have to go out and bid. Mm-hmm. And since it's local, it'll probably fit us better.
Well, excellent. Now, we're really at the top of the hour here, and I don't want to impinge on anybody's time. So this wraps up our webinar, Versatility in Action, a panel discussion with MGI Meteor users. I really would like to thank our panelists. You guys have been great. I think you've given the listeners a very interesting and insightful perspective, so thank you very much for your participation. I hope that those of you who are on the line have enjoyed the webinar. We really appreciate your interest in this topic, and I'm sure MGI does as well. Thank you very much for participating, and I will sign off for now. This is Jim Hamilton with InfoTrends saying thank you very much. Take care now. Bye-bye.